Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my video. It is Tuesday morning the 21st of October. In this video we're going to Tennessee to the case of missing 16-year-old Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He was 15 when he went missing from his home in Hendersonville in Tennessee. He was last seen by his mother, Katie Proudfoot, on the evening of the 25th of February 2024. His mother went to get him up for school in the early morning of February 26th, and he wasn't there. And he has not been seen since. The case has garnered a lot of attention, and there is a whole circus around this case that is just insane. Lawsuits and all sorts of things. Well, there's another player on the scene who's been to Tennessee, who's got some new information about Sebastian's case. That's Nerdy Addict. I follow him on Twitter, but he also has a YouTube channel with going on for 11,000 subscribers now. I'm going to talk about the information that Nerdy Addict has put out. I am playing catch up with this because Nerdy's done several videos over the last few days, so I spent my entire afternoon yesterday catching up on all things Sebastian. I've been so heavily invested in the Lily and Jack case. You can see here videos 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, 21 hours and 6 hours ago. Yes, there has been an RCMP update regarding the mystery car, so I posted that at like 2 a.m. my time. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. It's only 3.5 minutes. It's only a short update, but it's a very, very important one. All right, let's get over to Tennessee and talk about Sebastian. Let's go. Before we get into the video, can I just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. With your help, I can do it. I've got less than 3,000 to go with 2 and a bit months until the end of this year. So if you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. It's as easy as this. Boop! I've just subscribed to Nerdy Addict. Not like memberships where you got to pay a fee. Completely free. Help me get the YouTube play button plaque, which is the reward that YouTube sends when you get to that 100k milestone. Alright, without further ado, from what I can see online, I think most people who've talked about this case in the last few days with Nerdy Addict's information have gone with the search warrant. Yes, it's interesting that the cops served a search warrant on Katie and Chris Proudfoot's home in February of 2025, almost a year after Sebastian went missing, and they took all the devices, laptops and the security cameras that they set up after Sebastian went missing. So there's been a lot of speculation on to what they were looking for when they served this search warrant and why come back a year later. Well, honestly, it's not unusual that these things happen. At the time of Sebastian's disappearance, all 3 parents gave their phones to law enforcement. Sebastian's phone was given to law enforcement and his gaming console, and that was all voluntary, and they got their phones back, and that was it. So why could they have been serving a search warrant? Well, we know that nothing came of it because this was February 2025 and we're now towards the end of October 2025, so months later. And this search warrant was kept private. I don't blame Katie and Chris for not talking about it because, well, why would they? It just cause a whole new round of drama. And it could be that they got a tip and they're following up on a tip. We know there's lots of people who would be sending in tips perhaps about Chris and Katie. You know, perhaps it was something like they know where Sebastian is, they've been communicating with Sebastian, maybe that's what they were looking for. Maybe it was something unrelated to Sebastian. Maybe it was a tip about Chris's daughter who spends some time at the house. Chris's daughter has her own bedroom at the house. I don't know, but obviously nothing came of it, so I don't think that's really big news, honestly, given the amount of time that's gone by. But fair play to you if you think it is. I'm going to talk about the dogs in a moment because Chris gave Nerdy some more information about the dogs, and Nerdy seems unaware of Max, the German Shepherd, who dove into the retention pond.
Max picked track back up, going into the construction site over here back towards the beach.
That's important behind you. It's awful muddy. Do you see any footprints, anything? You shouldn't have any shoes on.
Hey, this is all dry, hard packed. I do have some footprints over here.
Right there where you're standing?
Yeah, leading right over here to the retaining pond.
No shoes, just footprints?
My shoes, but Max went straight into the pond. Max led me straight to the retaining pond. Over behind Willow Boulevard, he dove right into the water.
Yeah, do you see any footprints around it?
There was a few footprints in some of the softer dirt headed straight this way on the track that he was running.
So we're going to talk all about the dogs, and that incorporates Nerdy's new information. I will just briefly mention this before we get into the dogs. The last video I did about Sebastian was 9 days ago, and this was from information that Nerdy Addict put on Twitter. Apparently, before he went missing, Sebastian had called a burner phone, which was in the Clarksville area. So it was a number that they didn't recognise, and it appeared to come from a burner phone. Well, Chris has verified this information, and he got it slightly wrong. Now, when Nerdy met with Chris didn't want the conversation recorded, so Nerdy was going from memory, I assume. The tweet about, and this is from Chris, the tweet about the burner phone thing you have is wrong. I said there was a burner phone that called Seth. So, a burner phone that called Seth, not Sebastian calling a burner phone. I didn't say that was Sebastian's burner phone. Well, Nerdy never said that Sebastian had a burner phone. What Nerdy actually said was this. Sebastian Rogers had only a handful of saved contacts in his phone. After he disappeared, investigators reviewed his call records and allegedly discovered an outgoing call, so that's Sebastian calling someone, to a burner phone, and they traced that to the Clarksville area. Sebastian's phone only had one number in it that wasn't identified, but later found out it was his grandmother's number. Please correct the tweet if possible. Well, Nerdy removed the tweet, and it was just eagle-eyed people who'd screenshotted it before he did. So the video that I made 9 days ago, we can say, all right, that's been cleared up. That it was a burner phone that called Seth. There was nothing to do with a burner phone and Sebastian. The number that no one recognised at the time turns out to be Sebastian's grandmother. All right, let's talk about the dogs. This is the most interesting information, I believe, that Nerdy has come out with. And again, this is in conversation with Chris. And because the call wasn't recorded, then let's give Nerdy some grace if it comes out that some of these details are slightly wrong. So I'm going to play you what Nerdy said. I'm going to play a few minutes of this and comment throughout.
The dog thing is interesting. I'm going to stop on the aerial footage so we can see it from the air. And here's how it was described to me. Search dogs. So first, dogs were used to pick up the scent of Sebastian, meaning we all know that they'll give him clothes, socks, right, to pick up the scent. The scent, he said...
So scent-specific search dogs. Not like in Lily and Jack's case where it was just air centres. Scent-specific search dogs. We've seen the footage from one that SF Investigators has put out. This was a bloodhound that got a track. This was around 8:30 a.m. It was the first scent-specific dog on the scene. And this dog tracked in the same area that the Shadow Man figure at 12:17 a.m. that morning, so 8 hours previous, was walking around in. So was that shadow figure Sebastian?
Led across the street to the neighbor's house, and specifically to the playscape that they had. I guess they had a playground or like a little playscape swing set slide. I don't know. But the sniff dogs went to that area first. The canines went to that area first. If I remember correctly, he said this was in between the house of Bobby and their teens and in between 3 Muslim women who lived in the house next to them.
Say what? Say what? Okay, I think we need the map up. I think we need the map. Let's get the map here. I was gobsmacked. I was absolutely gobsmacked when I heard this. Like, why has this never come out before? Maybe it hasn't, I've missed it, but everything to do with the dogs, I'm all over. You know me, with dogs. So Sebastian's house is here, right? Bobby lives up here. I'm not going to directly point to her house, but Bobby lives up here. Bobby is the neighbour. We've talked about Bobby before here. Bobby, it's suspicious. There's something about Bobby that I don't like. I'm not blaming her for anything, but there's something about Bobby that I don't like. She's got a couple of teenagers who like to go out and play flashlight tag. And SF Investigates, a little while ago now. See, I've done videos about Bobby in the past, but SF Investigates, this is 3 months ago, put out a video. Let me go to the beginning here. This is the camera that looks over Bobby's property to the front. Someone's clearly out there with a flashlight. So, is that somebody playing flashlight tag? Now, Nerdy did say, and I don't know whether he's got this exactly right, Nerdy did say that Chris told him that Sebastian went out to play flashlight tag. Now, I'm not sure whether that's correct and whether Nerdy's got it slightly wrong, and Chris actually said that the kids in the neighbourhood play flashlight tag and Sebastian left the house with a flashlight. I mean, this is crazy. It's like there's a lot of information here. Something else Nerdy said, and I'll get back to the dogs, it's all relevant, that the last time Chris saw Sebastian, like in person, was at the beginning of February when he had a meeting at the school due to Sebastian's behaviour, some inappropriate behaviour that Sebastian had done. And I don't know the details of that. We don't need to know the details of that. And Sebastian was seen giggling, walking down the corridor with the girlfriend of one of Bobby's kids. The girlfriend goes to Sebastian's school. So could it be that the girlfriend of one of Bobby's kids lured Sebastian out to supposedly play flashlight tag, and because Sebastian thought that she liked him, that he went out and something then happened? And that's why Bobby's behaving suspiciously. I don't know. I don't want to blame a bunch of teenagers if they were just out there innocently playing something. But this is Bobby's house and there is a kid or somebody flashing a flashlight. And this is on the 25th of February 2024 at 22:19. So that's 19 minutes past 10. In the evening. It's around this time, maybe just a little bit before, that Katie heard a thud coming from Sebastian's room. And she shouted through to him if he was, are you all right? Go to sleep. And he said, yes, ma'am. And that was the last she heard from him. She just assumed he went to sleep. She went to bed a couple of hours later. So was Sebastian getting ready to go out to play flashlight tag? It's kind of news that a dog tracked into Bobby's yard. Except it isn't really news because the two first responding dogs, Max and Rex, who weren't scent specific, they're the Sumner County, just general police dogs who've got some tracking training. We know the video of Max. Max was dropped off here with his handler and he tracked to the retention pond. We've heard this on the dispatch audio. He's the first dog on scene around 7:40, 7:45 and dives right into the pond. It's on the dispatch audio. Unrefutable information.
Max picked track back up, going into the construction site over here back towards the beach.
That's the one behind you. It's awful muddy. Do you see any footprints, anything? He shouldn't have any shoes on.
Negative, this is all dry, hard packed. I do have some footprints over here.
Right there where you're standing?
Yeah, leading right over here to the retaining pond.
No shoes, just footprints?
My shoes, but Max went straight into the pond. Max led me straight to the retaining pond. Over behind Willow Boulevard, he dove right into the water.
Yeah, do you see any footprints around it?
There was a few footprints in some of the softer dirt, headed straight this way on the track that he was running.
Rex is the other German Shepherd from Sumner County, and allegedly Rex, and I haven't got the video for this. If anybody's got the video for this, and I've just kind of lost it, I don't know. But Rex was also in this area after Max and tracked to Bobby's backyard. So something was going on in Bobby's backyard. Doesn't necessarily mean it was Sebastian, because these were non-scent specific dogs. However, Chris also told Narc Divers recorded this conversation, that a dog tracked from the front door, down the back fence, across the neighbour's backyard and onto Kellen.
If you're looking at my house, it's going to be the right-hand side. The dog goes all the way down the fence. The dog comes all the way back up into the yard. And then it cuts that diagonal to the house next door us through the backyard. And that's the direction in which the dogs take off. Now after that, that's where they get over to the river and go up Kellen and head over to the other subdivision. Okay.
So if we put all this together, this is a scent-specific dog, and this was more than one dog that did this track. There was a bloodhound, a blue-tick coonhound, and another dog of unknown breed who did this same track. So out of the front door, down the back fence, across the neighbour's yard, and onto Kellen. And then we pick up at 8:30 a.m. this bloodhound that is in this vicinity, in the very same place that Shadow Man was at 12:17. Remember, this is scent specific, and tracks in the direction of the construction site. We know here that a dog, don't know which dog, tracked into Bobby's yard. Let's carry on.
Canines pick up the scent, they go into the playscape, and then they take it from there. They go across the street to the creek. In the first video on the ground, you see that sort of shack there, the barn there, where it says Shackle Island. That behind there is the creek. He then says that the canines continue the scent down the creek at some point, and I don't know where, but it's somewhere between the creek and Old Hickory Dam, which is why I showed it. It switches off to cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs led to the dam. Now, I had a whole lot of questions for ChatGPT, because I don't know if someone drowned 6 months ago, if cadaver dogs are going to pick up on that scent or not. I'm not a canine specialist.
Right, let me tell you something about water searches. Notoriously difficult. This is crazy. All right, let's zoom out here. So, from Bobby's house. Now, it's a bit of a ways to the creek, because you've got to go across the construction site, through here, which is the cemetery and the church, past Sebastian's school, and then all the ways over here. This is the creek. Right here. So, when Nerdy says across the street, well, it's actually across quite a ways. Did dogs actually track all of this way? If they did, fair play to them. So, all the ways up here to this creek. Right, and this creek, eventually, miles downstream, feeds into the Cumberland River. So you've got to go all the ways down here and it feeds into the Cumberland River. And this is about 5 miles of creek before it hits the Cumberland River. And then you've got this waterway system that leads to the dam, Old Hickory Dam, which is right here. So, again, Nerdy didn't record this, so this is from Nerdy's memory. But what I'm hearing from Nerdy here, and if it turns out that some of these details are a little bit inaccurate because of Nerdy's memory, let's give him that grace. But let's just discuss this, right? So, dogs tracked all the way to the creek, down the creek, and then at some point, the live scent trackers must have lost the scent, but cadaver dogs were able to track all the ways to Old Hickory Dam. Look, water searches are notoriously difficult in moving water. If a body is floating, it's going to be in a decomposition phase, because the body only floats when there's sufficient decomposition. So if a body has floated by, like recently, then yeah, a cadaver dog could track it. But if that body floated by days or even weeks ago, then no, because water moves. If you're looking at a moving water system like a river, it's a little bit different in stationary water, like in a lake. If a body is sunk, once the dog is taken over that water, it could be really deep water, a water-trained cadaver dog would alert. I mean, they can be really deep. And as long as the dog's over that body, then they'll alert. But alerting on Old Hickory Dam, assuming that Sebastian's body floated all the way down the creek, through the Cumberland River, and then maybe got stuck at the dam, well, that's a long ways to go. So I don't know how deep this creek is. Apparently there'd been a lot of rain, so it was deep and deeper than it usually is. And Nerdy said that Sumner County Sheriff's Office believe that Sebastian had an accident, maybe hit his head on a rock and drowned. But the TBI don't believe that, but we don't know what the TBI believe. Now, this is crazy.
I'm just relaying what he disclosed. So again, the canines that picked up his scent went across the street first, in between the 3 Muslim ladies' house and Bobby's house with the teenagers. It then took them to the creek across the street, and then dogs, both canines and cadaver dogs, then followed it and stopped at Old Hickory Dam.
That is miles away. It's miles away. Now, a lot of people drown, right, in the Cumberland River. So it could be that a dog at Old Hickory Dam was picking on something else. Also in water, if human sewage is making its way into a river system, dogs can get confused because human sewage contains some of the same molecules as is in a decomposing dead body. Because as part of living, we produce waste products that we excrete, and some of those waste products are actually the same chemicals, molecularly the same as cadaverine, putrescine, etc., that makes up that horrible smell of a decomposing body that a dog can pick up on in minute quantities. We can smell it when it's strong, but a dog can smell minute quantities of this stuff. Is it possible that Sebastian's body went all this way? Yeah, it's possible. Is it likely? Because there's miles of river for his body to get stuck. But if it was fairly fast flowing, then possibly, yeah, he could get all the way to the dam. But dogs tracking him all this way. I mean, did they literally, run with a dog all this way? Or was the dog on a boat? Like a water-trained cadaver dog on a boat, which would make sense. But is it really alerting the whole time that they're travelling along here? Be a massive feat of dog skill if that was the case.
So I thought that was interesting for a lot of reasons. I've worked water cases before, Connecticut, Riley Strain in Tennessee. Usually the dam is the most interesting area for a deceased person because they're going to get hung up there. Now, what's interesting is that he told me that the water was exceptionally high at this time of the year. And when it happened, I think if I remember, he said 10 to 12 feet higher than normal. It doesn't sound like they were able to reduce the water levels to properly check the dam. He also said that there's contention between Sumner County and TBI. Sumner County believes that, we'll just summarize, but they believe, Sebastian ran away, slipped on a rock, and drowned and died, whereas TBI doesn't believe that. They believe a different scenario here. So I'll let you guys process that, and I'm going to let you take the mic.
Yeah, let's process that. Let's do that. There's a lot here. And this is like several different live streams that he's releasing information on. Look, I think Nerdy is relaying the information as he remembers it. Is it all 100% factually correct? I don't know, because the conversation wasn't recorded. That's the first time I've heard of dogs tracking outside of the neighbourhood. Why have we never heard that before? And some people are saying, well, Chris has told different people different things. Yes, he has. Could it be that Chris has been saying the same story all along and people have only been releasing small bits of the story? We don't know. So I think what we need is Chris, if you're listening, do a live with anybody you trust and tell us the exact track of these dogs and which dogs, when. This all needs to be cleared up because this has made the situation now a lot more muddy. A lot more muddy. Dear me. All right, guys. My mind was blown when I heard this information yesterday. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.